Hey guys, welcome to At Bat Baseball Podcast presented by WARR Media, where we give you our latest news on Chicago baseball news, as well as take a trip around the league. I am Saul Rodriguez, and that is Miles Porter. How are we doing today, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Feeling good. Opening day right around the corner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, this morning, open up my MLB The Show copy. I know we were talking about this before. You had yours for a couple of days, but man, I'm hyped. Like that, just seeing opening that, seeing the cover, Shohei on there. Oh man,
Oh yeah, it's got me excited. It's
awesome.
got me excited. I'm going to the Cubs game on Sunday. Oh man,
Ooh,
ready to go. Ready
nice.
to ready to get it
I
going.
know. I was looking at that, man, and like legit the tickets for. I mean, there always are because it's April. It's cold, so obviously they're always hella cheap. But
Yeah.
man, there's extra cheap this year. I'm like, like opening day. I think I saw like opening day on MLB.com. Like that, even MLB.com still had tickets for the Cubs and Brewers. I'm like, dang, really, man?
Jumping on that real quick. Like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll just go to the whole series.
exactly, exactly. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right, all right. So obviously, a lot of people don't know us that well, man. So got to introduce ourselves, like when it comes to baseball and what you do in general. Can you tell us a little bit about how you fell in love with baseball, man, and then also like just what do you do?
Yeah. So, grew up in Lakeview, literally a block away from where the Cubs play. So it was, baseball is pretty much ingrained in me at a very, very young age. Before moving to Evanston. And I just fell in love with, the game itself and the pacing, the culture, the history. So I'm a baseball fan first. I respect other ball players. I played at Oakland Community College for 2 years. We won a World Series in 2018. Shout out to my boys. Played another 2 years at Roosevelt University. As you see, I'm actually wearing my jersey
Hey,
proudly.
represent.
Yeah, man. And now I'm playing in Israel. Now I'm also playing for the Milwaukee Jaguars. Still going, still loving this game, and it's everything. This game is everything.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, and then for people that don't know, that's how me and Miles met. Actually, last semester was my first semester at Roosevelt University. Met him in a law and ethics class. He rolled out a baseball and steroids project, and I was like, I like this dude.
Yeah, yeah. I
All
was
right,
sweating
so
over that project a little bit too. A whole
I
lot.
feel you, man. I feel you. But yeah, no, I mean, for me, it's different. I mean, literally, like I wish. I always tell my friends, I'm like, man, I wish my parents got me into like sports, but they were the type of parents that were like, hey, if you don't want to do it, if they never hear me say like, oh, I want to play this, then we won't put you in there. But to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, like I wish they forced me to play baseball. But it is what it is. I found it in different ways. Like my dad has always been a big fan of baseball. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm definitely a bigger baseball fan than him just because he's kind of like the casual fan. Like he watches the games, but whatever. But I'm on a whole nother level. Like I'm obsessed with baseball.
Yeah,
And so really just like growing up watching like the '03 NLCS, like the Cubs and all that. Like that's probably what got me into it. But really also just like watching like Sunday night baseball games and like, John Miller back in the day, like that also got me hyped because I eventually want to be a play-by-play announcer. So
yeah,
I think just like the atmosphere at Wrigley Field, along with like just the announcers' calls, is like probably what got me. Like I remember one home run in particular is a Michael Barrett grand slam, go ahead in the eighth inning,
oh
and like I
man,
remember it was like an April too. Like I just remember like John Miller going crazy and just like that the stadium going it was awesome. So that's the type of things that like really I think about when I think about why I love baseball and why I like it so much. But right now I work for 103.1 WPNA FM, which is a Polish American station for Chicago. I cover sports. Um, that's kind of how I like got into like talking sports. Like it's obviously right now I don't have any play-by-play experience, which I want to get to after school. But I also attend Roosevelt University, and I graduate most likely the earliest probably next spring. So after that is when I hopefully get some experience under my wings and yeah. But that's it. That's why I love basically why I love baseball.
yeah. Love that. Love
Let's
that.
go. Let's go. All right. So enough about ourselves. Let's get into baseball talk. Obviously, we're a few weeks past the lockout, Miles. But in your opinion, real quick, like how do you think that whole thing unfolded? Obviously, there's a lot of negative thoughts from everyone, but just like, what are your thoughts on how it unfolded, and also just some of the rules that rolled down? And I have some of the rules right here, but you go ahead, man.
Yeah. So it's I think to a certain extent for fans who don't understand, you know, the specific ins and outs of the lockout in terms of the CBA and all these other little details, it definitely did not look good for the game. For someone who doesn't understand baseball like you and I do, or other analysts do, or the players do, who are in these situations, it looked like billionaires arguing with millionaires. And all of a sudden, it wasn't about the game anymore. And that is something that leaves a little bit of a stain in the game of baseball. And, it's just, you really just root for these guys to have an amazing season, put on a great show for not only the fans, but have a great season for themselves. Go out there and just enjoy it. The money talk in sports, specifically baseball, is not ever a good conversation, usually, in terms of just all of a sudden, we're not talking baseball anymore. It's, how much money is going to go in one person's pocket or the GM's pocket. So it's just these things right here. It's just, you hope for a good season to kind of just, put that off to the side, and then we just move forward as fans and players and just enjoy this for what it is.
Yeah, I'm definitely at that point too. Like, when it was happening, I'm just like, come on, like it reminded me a lot of, obviously, the whole thing with during COVID, during the pandemic, how they couldn't figure stuff out. It's like, and everyone kept saying it too. It's like baseball has the opportunity to be the first sport to come back and have people remember that. You're literally going to go down in history books as the first sport to come back, and they couldn't do it. And it was really disappointing. And yeah, it's the same thing again this year. I mean, just having, it's like, it is, when you look at it from a grand scheme of things, it is bigger than, than, like, obviously, like you said, from the outside, it looks like millionaires versus billionaires, but it is like so much bigger than that. Like, obviously, like, there's a large portion of the players that don't play or don't earn $1 million and blah, blah, this, that. So it's tough, because like you want the players to stand up for themselves, because obviously the owners, you could see their point of view, and you can see what they're trying to do basically towards the players in a $1 billion industry. So it's tough from that standpoint. So you're like, man, I really want the players to stand up for themselves, but the more they stand up for themselves, it looks like the longer this lockout goes out. So they're gonna to a lot of the CBA, like a lot of the number crunching, when you look at it, it's like, yeah, the players probably had to settle for a lot, but they probably were like, you know what, we want to play, we don't want to miss any games. And you could tell the owners were like, man, it's cool, like we'll miss some games. Like it's what it seemed like, right? And it's like, come on, like you guys really want to miss a month of baseball? Like, and a lot of people said, oh, because April, is the least profitable month. And that's just such a tough look, because it's like, it's baseball, who cares? Like it's long, it's supposed to be like that. So anyways, but yeah, no, I like I said, a lot of people have thoughts on that. But let's get to the rules part of it. Is what a lot of people talked about that they agreed upon was, for example, universal DH, the playoffs extended to 12 teams, the limits to the number of time a player can be optioned to the minor leagues in one season, draft lottery, draft pick inducements meant to discourage service time manipulation. What are your, like, what, for example, on the big ones like universal DH, like, is that something you were looking forward to?
Yeah. So I've always been pretty indifferent about that. I do think the pitcher spot, in the lineup, somewhat is a bit of a wasted spot. If he's not going to lay down a bunt to get that guy over, it's pretty much an automatic out. So I do like the DH for both leagues. Now everyone's sitting. Now we got all the hitters in the lineup. There's not really a weak point for anyone's lineup. So, I'm all for the universal DH. I am going to miss seeing some pitchers hit, but for the most part, it's good. It's good for baseball.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, and I'm just like remembering like Carlos Zambrano and like like those types of dudes like hit like it is. I do have a soft spot. Like, I'm like, if they didn't, I'm okay with the DH, and I understand why they do it. And hell, it's going to help a lot of players play longer, and the NL, you're going to be able, like, a lot of opportunities for other players, like, for example, Pujols. But I do, I'm just kind of like, there's some pitchers I'm like, I would be okay with still seeing them hit. I like DeGrom, for example. I mean, like DeGrom hitting Greinke's in the AL now, but still, like, those type of dudes, it was fun to watch for sure. With the playoffs expanded though, how did you feel like when them expanding to 12 teams now?
I have no problem with that either. There
Mhm.
are, for the past few years, we've seen some teams with very solid records, very solid finishes, like the Blue Jays and the Mariners, come up pretty short just by like a game and a half or 2 games out of the wild card. I really like this a lot. Now you got more of the competitive teams in there. So, that shoot to the World Series is even more crucial because you got so many teams, battling to get to that spot. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I really don't like seeing teams with like winning records, go down, have to go home and, try again next year. It's like, no, if they have like an 87, 86 win season, not naming any specific teams, give them a shot. Give them a shot to go in there. We don't know who's going to surprise them. We saw with the Braves. The Braves weren't even supposed to, be in the playoffs in general last year.
Mhm.
Shocked everyone. So I am 100% for it. I have no problem.
Yeah, I think that's the way it goes. I mean, the more teams, the more it adds to the excitement. More cities get to go. Yeah, because you look at it like when you take a step back and look at it from back in the day, it's like it was always the Red Sox, it was always the Yankees. Like in the 2000s,
Yeah.
growing up, it was always like the same teams.
Yeah.
But it's like once you get into the playoffs, anybody could win. And now, like having teams that like, I mean, we'll go on and talk about our playoff predictions. But like, yeah, you could even have the Mariners get in there for the first time in like 20 years, 20 plus
Yeah.
years, right? So
Yeah.
it's like that's the type of thing like the fans deserve that, like literally deserve that. Like so that's the one thing I did want to happen. There is like a little like with me, I'm always like balancing, especially with baseball. It's always like the inner traditionalist in me, and also just the like analytics type, looking forward to stuff because I'm a fan of both. Like I like both.
Yeah.
So when I think about it, I'm just like, man, I do. I'm like, the more teams will it make it less special, but I think that baseball will adapt because a lot of people are like, oh, that it's gonna like you're gonna let in like a 79 win team or an 80 win team or something like that, whatever it is. But I think baseball will adapt over the next couple of years, and more teams will try to win, which means there'll be more winning records in the playoffs. I don't think it's gonna be a big deal to that type of stuff, but it is interesting. And I will say this: when we're talking baseball here in Chicago, more playoff teams is good for the Cubs. Not that the White Sox have to worry about that. The White Sox are going to be there regardless. It could be 4 teams and they'll still be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can move on now. When it comes to the off season, and speaking of those Cubs and White Sox teams, we'll start with that White Sox team, that 93 win White Sox team. How did you think their off season went, and what acquisitions did you like that they got?
So, okay, I think the Sox did an incredible job of just overall bolstering their bullpen in general. Kendall Graveman coming in, love that. Vince Velasquez, former starter for the Phillies, he can go deep into a game if someone comes out. I think Lance Lynn right now is injured, so you have a lot of ways that you could just kind of move that bullpen around, maybe put some guys in rotation. Um, yeah, I'm loving what they're doing. They really added a lot of depth. Josh Harrison as well. He has that swag to him, so he fits perfectly. He fits perfectly with the White Sox. Him and Tim Anderson playing next together. That's gonna be fun to watch. AJ Pollock, another great outfielder. He's going to be a role player. He can play every outfield position. Whoever goes down, then he's going to go out there. If not, maybe he gets a starting role. I'd be kind of surprised if he did, just by how deep that outfield already is. But in terms of just like a role player that adds depth to offensively and defensively, AJ Pollock is great. So I'm loving everything that they've done last year. Going back to Kendall Graveman in the bullpen, he had a 1.77 ERA last season between 2 teams. So, I'm liking the White Sox. I'm giving them an A.
Nice. Yeah, no, with the White Sox, it's like they obviously on paper they don't need that much. I think going into the offseason really was the bullpen, and they did like you said with Graveman, with Joe Kelly, they got Joe Kelly, and like those are the type of things that they wanted to get, needed, and they got it. Yep. What I hear a lot of too from the fans is they really wanted that left-handed outfield bat, and I keep hearing that, and I keep hearing that. Yeah. And it's funny because you look at the guys that are still left out there, and it's like Michael Conforto's still out there, but there's a lot of injury stuff with that. So and they could still add someone, but Pollock is nice. I mean, that guy hits everyone, and like you look at his numbers, and it's crazy, especially at his age, to be doing what he's doing. And that's a really good that Kimbrel trade. I thought was like a really good deal, because the Dodgers are getting rid of a player they technically don't really need in Pollock, because their lineup is disgusting. Yeah. Then the White Sox are getting getting rid of a player that they don't really need in Kimbrel, just because Obviously now with Crochet being out, you could argue that they need a guy like Kimbrel, but in that sense, they didn't really need him. Their bullpen's pretty stacked already.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I for me, I would say definitely like an A-, just because I wish for them they would have gotten like maybe just a younger bat for the outfield, a guy that they had for, like sign him for like a longer deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely not disappointed. And it's because with the White Sox, it's really about what you have and what can happen more than like, let me go sign a guy and, because, we need that or whatever. No, they already have the guys that they need. And, Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez, like those guys, if those dudes go off, then that they're going to go to another level, which is crazy because they're already like amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what, to be honest, like last season, it was disappointing to see how they did against the Astros. I understand how good the Astros are.
Yeah.
But I honestly thought that series was going to go 5 games, and I thought they're going to put more of a battle. But it is what it is. The Astros are just that good, and
very experienced team.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and the White Sox, I think this year for sure. And I will say this too: the White Sox still have a couple more years, but even if they don't win this year, I can see White Sox fans feeling a little antsy because. Every year that goes by that you don't win a championship is a closer year is you're getting closer to the players becoming free agents and all that whatnot.
Yeah.
Although the White Sox did do a good job with keeping all those guys, but being a Cubs fan, we know how it is. And every year, every year you get older.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. So for me, A-. And for the Cubs, a lot of people were surprised on their offseason and what they did, just because a lot of people thought 100% rebuild, they're not going to try to get anyone, but they went out and got Stroman, Seiya Suzuki, White Miley. They got a lot of big league talent, big league guys that have been here for a long time. Yeah. And when I was looking at it, I'm like, man, you know what? It's fine. We understand, because especially with the extra playoff team, and by no means, as I said, we'll get to playoff predictions. No one's picking necessarily the Cubs to go to the playoffs, but I think a lot of people see them as a team that could disrupt, a team that could maybe knock on the door. And if they have any opportunity in July, then they go out and get a piece. But yeah, their offseason, I think I would definitely give them an A, just because they exceeded those expectations of getting, I really like Stroman. I mean, I don't necessarily see him maybe as like the ace of the next like good Cubs team, like the next division winning team. Not yet, at least. If he could surprise me, of course, but I do like the type of pitcher he is, and the type of swagger he brings to the team, man, is awesome. Just because I feel like a lot of the Cubs teams that we've had, although they've been exciting, like Javi Baez and stuff like that, but you like guys that speak their mind and tell it how it is. So yeah, and then obviously Seiya Suzuki, that I thought like that was awesome, because it's like you're obviously in some kind of rebuild mode, but to give the fans at least something to look forward to this season, and Seiya Suzuki, who obviously could be a rookie of the year candidate, and that guy's been killing it in Japan. So honestly, they outdid themselves, and they had a good offseason. And the whole Correa thing too. I mean, they could have easily gotten Correa for that deal that that he went to the Twins. Also, like, what did you think about that deal, the Minnesota Twins with Carlos Correa? Like, how do you see that deal, and does it make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes total sense to me. I think Correa's time with the Astros was already coming to an end. I did not see him re-signing with that team. Good for Minnesota. Good for the Twins. I still don't really see them as a team to, kind of look out for too much. But in terms of, getting all other young players around him, that's incredible. Then you have Byron Buxton in the mix as well. That's a very exciting team to watch. I still wouldn't exactly put them on my top tier list at the moment, but there is also the chance that they could surprise a lot of people in the AL Central. So we'll see how that goes with them. But I really like Correa on the Twins. It's a good fit for them.
Yeah, that's the way I saw it too, because it's a win-win for everyone. Because if Correa, obviously, there's some people that say that he's going to get traded in July because they don't see the Twins competing up to that much, and I wouldn't be surprised. But that would really suck for Twins fans. But I do 100% see him leaving after the first year, no matter what, barring some kind of injury where obviously, so yeah, I think it's a win-win for both those teams. And yeah, the Twins could make noise, but they do need they still need starting pitching. They got Sonny Gray this offseason, but that even then, that's not that much. They're kind of banking on their young pitching. They got Joe Ryan coming up, and he looks like a really good right-hander. But they're gonna need a lot still. And really, when it comes to Correa with the Cubs, that's the one reason too. I was like, man, they could have easily gotten him for that 3-year deal with the opt-out. But I get it. If you didn't end up winning that sweepstakes, it's not that big of a deal. But it just would have been cool, just because all those teams that wanted him and whatnot. So then for the Cubs offseason, what kind of grade do you give them?
So originally I had given them a B on it, but I like these these players that they put on this team. I like Jonathan VR a lot. I don't think VR is going to be talked about a lot. I really like him on the Cubs now. Like we said, Marcus Stroman. I love Marcus Stroman on this team. He's not going to be the ace. I still think it's going to be Hendo going forward. It's interesting. This is a team that can surprise some people this year. Now, for people who are listening to this, by no means am I saying that we're going to be a very dominant team this year. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, kind of going back to what you said, they can really ruffle some feathers. They can really give some teams a hard time. If the Cardinals are trying to catch the Brewers, the Cubs are going to be the team that's going to be like, all right, well, if we can't catch them, you can't catch them either. You're going to come to, all right, you got Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt. Cool, whatever. We got Seiya Suzuki. It's fine. We got Ian Happ, who I think is going to surprise a lot of people this year. Started off struggling last year. Really during that second half, after all of our guys left, Ian Happ was one of the players that really stepped up for the Chicago Cubs. Touching on Wilson Contreras. Now, we don't know if Wilson Contreras is going to be a Cub by the trade deadline just because of everything that's unfolded over the past month. Now, I think if the Cubs are somewhat competing this year and they want to, kind of keep rolling with it, you keep Wilson Contreras, because I don't think Miguel Amaya is ready yet. I think Yan Gomes is a great backup catcher to Wilson, but if we ship off Wilson Contreras and then you call up Miguel Amaya and Yan Gomes, then the catching isn't as solid as you want to be. Unless you're rebuilding, that's whatever. But if you're trying to compete, you got to keep Wilson around going forward. So, I really like what they've done this offseason. Nothing that's like too crazy to me. I like Seiya Suzuki. I think he's going to be very solid for the Cubs going forward. Such a great personality. He's hilarious too. I'm watching his interviews on Marquee Network. I'm like, this guy is so funny, and he's such a good energy for the team. The Cubs have a lot of good energy around them right now, and I think that's so important for this team going forward after a very, very tough 2021 season. So I like where this is heading. And for the older fans who are going to be a little bit tougher on them, you got to be patient. You got to be patient with this. This is a different time for the Cubs. This is a new era for this team. Give them a chance. That's the best thing I can say. Give them a chance, because it is going to be entertaining.
Yeah, definitely agree, man. It's like with the White Sox, it's easy to say they're going to win the division.
Yeah,
a lot of those teams, even with the Twins, like even with those moves that they made, it's really easy to just be like they're going to finish first.
Right.
And the thing is, they have a division that they have some upcoming players, and we'll get to that too, Spencer Torkelson and Bobby Witt Jr.
Mm-hmm. But
they're not to the point where they're going to threaten the White Sox, in my opinion. But when you look at the NL Central, it is very interesting to see the Brewers again. You could say the same thing about the Brewers. They have elite of the elite pitching, hitting questionable. Obviously, if Yelich is Yelich though, then that's easily their division.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think they're going to finish first. But yeah, when it comes to the Cardinals, it is really interesting to see what they did in their offseason, because I've seen a lot of the chatter with their fans. They're not too happy. Even getting Pujols, as he's a Hall of Famer, he's a legend. Love that guy playing, growing up, love that guy, love to see that guy play. But it's a lot of fans think that that's like a cover up for what they wanted, or what they actually, what they did in the offseason. Which was not do much. And so and they had the opportunity really to step up and get more offense and get more starting pitching, because they have Jake Flaherty, they have the players there, but Reyes, they have young guys there, but a lot of injuries. And it reminds me a little bit of the Mets. It's like if they have their pitching and they, they get that, that's one thing, that's fine. But they didn't do much to help their problems. And that's why I think the Cubs stepped in, and that's why they have the opportunity. And it sounds crazy, but the Cubs do have an opportunity to finish second, and that would be a successful season, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So then now we'll move on now to the rest of the league. After talking about the Cubs and the White Sox, and we'll start with division winners. Now, again, in division winners and postseason teams, along with the wild card teams. Now, is like we said, 12 teams in the postseason. And Miles, you can go first. Give us your predictions for your postseason teams. I see you have a couple teams that you couldn't really decide between, so I'm interested to see your opinion on those. Go ahead.
Yeah, so when we're talking division winners, for the NL East, I got the Braves winning it. Even though Freddie Freeman is no longer a Brave, Matt Olson is a monster. He had a monster season last year. I don't want fans to forget that. This team is still going to be very, very competitive. Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies. This team is going to be so incredible going forward. Watch out for them. Got the Brewers taking the Central. Got the Dodgers taking the West. And for my wild card, yes, I'm indecisive right now, but I got the Giants and Phillies, and I'm torn between the Mets and the Padres. So here's my reason for those two teams. The Mets have historically, the past 2 years, they've put some great products on the field. They've made some great moves. Now, this is a team that has a lot of drama. That is one of the main things that they're known for is, drama with the GMs, issues with certain players. And I think that is one of the main things, aside from the injuries, that's kind of hurt them. Obviously, you need Francisco Lindor to be Francisco Lindor the season he had last year. That is not what you signed him for. He knows that. The fans know that. His teammates know that. I think he's going to have a great year. He's having a great spring training. Got to look out for him. The Padres, on the other hand, they did not finish well last year at all. You need Tatis to stay healthy, but, they're not going to have Tatis for a little bit. They still have to compete all the way up until he gets back. I think Manny Machado is going to do his job. I still think Eric Hosmer has a lot left in the tank. I like Cronenworth a lot. So it's kind of – those are two teams that are going to be very competitive this year, but there's a consistent issue that happens with them. Now, between those two teams is whoever comes out of those issues, whoever rectifies these issues that they have always had. The Padres have to finish strong. Their pitching staff has to perform. That bullpen has to be way better. It's one of the main things that let them down. Padres just got to finish. The Mets, they just got to stay healthy. They got to limit all the drama that they have each year. It's always something. Last year, Javi Baez putting the thumbs down to the fans. It's New York. It's New York. I have a lot of family from New York. I've been to a bunch of Yankees games and Mets games. They are very, very passionate fans in all sports. They're like that with the Knicks. Okay, that's just New York. Limiting that drama is just going to be so big for them. No drama, no issues. Just play ball, stay healthy. So that's why I'm kind of torn between them. For the AL, for the East, I got the Rays. Central, I got the White Sox. The West, I got the Astros. For the wild card, I got the Yankees, the Angels, the Red Sox, or the Blue Jays. This is that's one of those things where I do like Trevor Story on the Red Sox. Maybe he proves me wrong this year, but I'm still kind of on the fence about him. I don't think that last year he performed very well, but he does have a lot to offer to any team. And the Blue Jays, those are some young studs, man. You gotta watch out for this team. Yeah. They're on their way. Vladdy Jr., Bo Bichette, everyone else on that entire roster, they're on the come up. They're going to constantly improve. So eventually, people are going to have to start talking about that team more. So that's where I'm at, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how correct I am.
No, yeah, it's definitely you made some good points, and we'll get into a little more of the Mets after I go my predictions. But yeah, there's definitely a lot to unpack there. With my division winners in the NL, I got the Braves, and just as you said too, a lot of people are counting them out, saying the Mets are going to win the division. I don't think so. I think they even got better with Matt Olson at first base. I think defensively he's a better first baseman, so I think they improved there. And then of course the Brewers, like I said before, I think they're going to win the NL Central. the Dodgers, I mean, there's not much to say there. They are the Dodgers. Getting Freddie Freeman is bogus to the league, but I get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's like an OP move right there.
I know. It's legit. No, they're legit. At this point, they're just playing MLB The Show, right? It's like, it's unreal. Like but like, you know, you want to win every year. I get it.
Yeah.
For my wild card teams, it was tough once you get to these, like, the Giants, you're gonna need the same amount of Logan Webb for them to make the postseason.
Yeah,
and you know, you need a little more from the youngsters, and a lot of people were saying they had a lot of 1-year wonders, you know, with some of their players, but I think some of that is real. So I think they're gonna, you know, make it with, you know, the more amount of teams in the postseason. And then you got the Mets, and I got the Mets and the Phillies. The Phillies, now it was tough, like, and you know, you make a good point with the Padres, and it was really between them two. But I think for me, at the end of the day, it comes down to the Phillies offense can match up with anyone in the big leagues. They are, and I think that their defense is the problem.
Yeah.
But I feel that they're starting pitching, like with Wheeler and Nola. Like, I think they'll be fine to make it to the postseason. If they don't make it, though, I would not be surprised.
Right.
But I set my postseason team with the Phillies between them and the Padres. So we'll see what happens. And then I'll go with the in the American League, the Rays to win the AL East. With them, it's more of an experience thing. Like the Jays, again, wouldn't be surprised. Like, you honestly could have picked anyone in that division to win besides maybe the Reds, maybe the Red Sox, and obviously not the Orioles. But like when it comes to those teams in that division, they're stacked. So it could easily go either way. I got a friend that's a Yankees fan, and I tell him all the time, if the Yankees were to win the division, I would not be surprised. They have the starting pitching. They have the bullpen. They have the guys in the lineup. I mean, the lineup is nasty too. A lot of people forget about that because they have a lot of injuries with Stanton and Judge and stuff like that. But it doesn't matter. You still got Gallo in there. They got Rizzo. Rizzo wasn't, you know, he's not Freeman. He's not Olsen. But I think the chemistry was there with them, and I think he liked that situation.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he went back, and it's gonna work out for them, I think.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that wild card team, I did pick the Yankees and the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. So it's all AL East. And I just think that's the way it's going to go. I think AL East is going to dominate the AL. I think it's that good. And yeah, I mean, to expand more with our picks a little bit, when it comes to, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Mets, as you were talking about before. And a lot of people are picking them with their offseason that they had. I mean, they have a great owner now with Cohen, you know, making those moves. Respect that, because a lot of owners obviously don't want to go for it. They don't spend all their money. So I respect that. But I will say, for right now, I'm not at all picking them to win a division, just because their pitching is always a problem when it comes to injuries. Mm-hmm. And man, and look at that. It's already, you know, an issue with Scherzer, and it's already an issue with DeGrom. And it's you want to be wrong every year. Like I tell, we were talking about this before we got on air. Like I want to be wrong with that. But the thing is, every year I'm always picking DeGrom to get hurt, not to make those 30 starts. And it sucks. You really want to see that, because he's the best pitcher probably we've ever seen, along with him and Kershaw. Like, it's just, it's, you know, it's disappointing, but at the end of the day, you got to be real. And I think it's going to be the Braves coming out there again. And we forget a lot too, is that they didn't have Soroka last year. The Braves didn't. So having him there and, you know, shoring up that rotation a little more, it's going to be interesting. You know, it's interesting to see what Ian Anderson could do more. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think when it comes to that, the Mets have the opportunity, and they have the players to win a division. Yes. I just don't think it's going to happen. But when it comes also to the American League East, like how close were you to picking like some of the other teams in that division?
I was pretty close, because the East is very, very interesting, because I still look at the Phillies, and I still think that they can compete. But, you know, going back to a lot of other things, the offense is very solid. The pitching for that team, that bullpen, is okay. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I guess I was really much torn between the Phillies and the Mets, as the other teams aside from the Braves. I just, you know, the issues with the Mets, it's the same thing every year. It is the same thing, and people in New York will tell you it is the injuries, or it is issues outside of baseball that just kind of derail this team every single year. Phillies, they're right there. They just, they got to get over that hump with that pitching. They have to.
Yeah, and as you were saying with Baez too, as I was surprised too, man. Like to see him and how he dealt with certain things in New York. It's like, dude, you played in Chicago. Like, I'm not saying not comparing like New York. Some of the fans could be a little harsh. You could make an argument that they're a little harsher in Chicago.
Yeah,
But the Chicago fans still pretty hard in the team. So it's like
yeah.
I was very surprised to see him how he reacted to that type of stuff. But I think him going to Detroit had a lot to do with that. I think that he maybe wanted to take a step back from like a city like New York and Chicago and kind of like see what he can do. Maybe he could take over a team, have it be his team. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on there with Spencer Torkelson and stuff like that. But yeah, I did find it interesting how he dealt with all that stuff. But the Phillies, it's going to come down to the pitching. It's going to come down to the defense. Their offense is going to be fine, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I just think it's like OP offense. Like with the Dodgers, like they're gonna. I think that's what's going to carry them. Then so also when it comes to the AL East, for how close were you to picking other teams in that division?
So with the AL, that's even closer for me because it's that division is so competitive. You could easily pick any one of those teams to win it, specifically with the Rays and the Yankees, in my opinion. Wow, that's a very close division. I still think that's a toss-up. I still think it's a toss-up. I picked the Yankees just because of experience, but by no means am I going to say the Yankees are going to dominate anyone in that division. It's going to be very close. If it's not close, it's literally just because a team just got derailed for some sort of reason. Very, very hard, very close division. I can see the Blue Jays surprising people this year, and they take that division. I don't know, man. I don't know. I still got the Rays winning it, but it's still that's a division that I could just see just be it's going to go right down to game 162.
Yeah, and the thing with the Yankees too is like we get it. A lot of team, we could sit here and a lot of people could say, we don't want the Yankees to be in the playoffs. They're the Yankees.
Right.
You know what I mean? They have 27 championships. But at the end of the day, we're baseball fans. And I think baseball is better when the Yankees are in the playoffs. So I think like in that case also is a lot of people forget how good their pitching was last year. And I kept hearing the offseason, they're like, the Yankees got to show up their pitching. They got to do this and that. And I'm like, not really. I mean, they're starting pitching with Jordan Montgomery, Garrett Cole, and I'm forgetting the name, Nestor Cortez. And obviously Severino. So it's like it's more of like the way I see it, it's more of the ifs on them. Like if Severino can be himself, if Montgomery can do what he did last year, Cole's an automatic. Obviously, he's gonna do what he does every year. So I think people I think the past few years seeing them lose in the playoffs, maybe that's why some people don't trust them. But they'll get to the playoffs. I think that's for sure. And I think if everything works out with them, if they maybe make a couple moves at the deadline, for example, if they went into the World Series, I wouldn't be surprised. But it is just a lot of things like, they got to answer. It's a lot of ifs, and they got to shore those up. But anything could happen in that AL East, and I love it because that division is so stacked. And I want to see the Jays also succeed, but with them, it's again a little more of the pitching. I want to see it. I don't know if I trust Gausman yet to I want to see him for a few starts, see what he does because and I've heard this again too. It's like with Gausman, he didn't do that well in the AL East before. You could argue he's a different pitcher now, of course, years ago. But that division is not for the faint-hearted, man. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see there. The Red Sox, obviously, with Trevor Story, and as you said before, you're not sold on him. I totally agree. Like I think you can make an argument his best years are behind him. I think that he's a solid defensive player. He's obviously a great power hitter, but to take over a team like the Red Sox or something like that, I don't think that's gonna make a difference as to their playoff odds. I think they're still gonna make the postseason, but I don't know if it's not a Correa type move, for example.
Right.
But they're the type of talent they have there too, like Dalbec and stuff like that. Like the Red Sox, they're still a threat, and I think that the way they played against the Yankees last year also says a lot to this year. And a lot of teams, a lot of people forget too is just how good they pitch against the Yankees, and it's a big deal, And if you can pitch against those types of teams, those types of lineups, it's going to take you places. And I think the Red Sox for sure are going to be in the postseason mix. But again, with the Red Sox, it's like you wouldn't be surprised if their pitching is the downfall. And you already saw
Yeah.
Chris Sale just yesterday, right? He's going to be on the 60-day DL and IL, excuse me. And so, yeah, it's like it's that's going to be another tough lot. And I feel like every year that they've had Chris Sale, we're doing that thing. We're like, oh, just wait till Chris Sale gets back. They're gonna, wait till Chris Sale gets back. And it's like, come on, like we're gonna do that every year. And it's like, I don't think that's gonna be a good recipe for them. If they make a move, I wouldn't be surprised if they went to go get Montes from the A's, because he's still out there. The last one left. So definitely going to be interesting to see what they do there. But yeah, I mean, that AL East is going to be super interesting. It's funny because you can argue the best baseball is going to be played in the East this year because that NL East and AL East is nasty.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the season awards now, we'll go one by one here. Who's your NL MVP this year?
I got Bryce Harper. And he was so not talked about last year. I don't think he made the All-Star team last year, if I'm correct. But he,
I don't think he did.
Yeah, but he still had a monster season. At this point, Bryce Harper his approach at the plate is just so sound. He has so much rhythm. He knows how to sit back on a curveball. He knows how to just jump on a fastball, no matter where he is in the count. He's just an amazing hitter. He's incredible. I got Bryce Harper, and I was kind of torn between him and Freddie Freeman, but I just love Bryce Harper. And then defensively as well, he's incredible in right field. I got to go Bryce Harper.
And what's crazy? You said he didn't play, or he didn't make the All-Star team last year. He hasn't made the All-Star team since 2018, which is insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because and the thing is, he's like, honestly, you look at his numbers now, all the numbers he has accumulated now, he's a Hall of Famer. And people, I think people like for the longest time, it's kind of like the whole LeBron thing. Like a lot of people like will disregard him just because, I don't like LeBron this. And I'm like, man, I'll be honest with you. I was definitely on that train, like where I didn't like LeBron back in the day. I was salty. I think that's all it was for me. I mean, right? It's like, I was just salty because he was beating the Bulls. That's all it is. Like, regardless of like how he acted, like if he was cocky and stuff, like, dude, that's one of the best players of all time. So it's like, if anybody has the right to be cocky, is that dude. So yeah, it's like, I think with Bryce Harper, a lot of people also thought the same thing in the sense of like, they didn't like his attitude. They didn't like his, approach to baseball. There was a couple times where he didn't run stuff out, but he's a kid. He was a kid. Like that dude, like, started in the league when he was 18, 19 years old. He almost, and the thing was, I bet you a lot of veteran players didn't try to take him under his wing because they may be like, this guy has all the cameras around him, this and that, so maybe there's a lot of things he had to go through by himself, so, and the thing is, he could easily win. He's the type of guy that can win the MVP every year, which is crazy to me. But for me this year, I'm going to go with Ronald Acuna Jr. I think because a lot of people forgot about him in the East. I think just because, obviously, and isn't it interesting, like the way that the Nationals won the World Series without Harper, the year after that, after he left, and then the Braves won the World Series without Acuna. So it's like almost like the NL East teams are like, if our best players now will just win the World Series. So it's like, So this year, if the Mets win without DeGrom, like I'm like, well, that's there's something in there,
Yeah, there's something going on. There's some weird magic going on there.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, Acuna Jr. and honestly, for me, it was a toss up between like I was really close to picking Olsen. Just because I think the Braves are going to be one of the best teams. The Dodgers have it locked up. They're going to probably be the best team record-wise. And I think that their team may be even too stacked to pick Freeman as the MVP. But he's obviously going to get votes. Mookie's going to get votes. Like all those dudes. So that's why I kind of thought, I was like, maybe Acuna was going to be able to like, separate himself from Olsen and whatnot. But yeah, he is the elite of the elite. I've seen a lot of people pick Soto for the MVP. And again, fair. Because that dude is so good. And so seeing him and Acuna battle again this year is going to be awesome. Now for the AL MVP, who do you got?
I got Vladdy Jr. I think he is aging gracefully in this league, and he's so young. For just from one baseball player looking at another, his approach at the plate, his control is just incredible. Now, I think he's going to be DHing more this year than anything. I think he's going to also be at first base a bit. So I'm not really looking I'm not really counting on him too much defensively, but offensively, his presence at the plate makes every single pitcher very, very uncomfortable. Doesn't matter if it's a guy from the right side or a guy from the left side. Vladdy Jr. is going to make you feel very threatened. I got Vladdy Jr. easily.
No, yeah, that's a good pick, man. I mean, that you can't, again, with that one, you can make an argument. You can make an argument for anyone in that case.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, and even more so in the AL. I mean, with Ohtani and stuff like that, because that's who I picked, and it really was. You can make an argument for Ohtani, for Vladdy, and multiple guys in the Blue Jays too. I mean, it's like Bichette. If Bichette goes off, like stuff like that. So, but for me, I'm going to go Ohtani. I think he's going to go back to back. I just think that there's no letting up with that guy. I think he's going to be an elite starter again. He's going to be an elite hitter again. Like I don't see it. I think the only thing that stops him is an injury. Obviously, knock on wood. And I really hope he does make those 25, 30 starts. I heard they're still going to try to do a 6-man rotation, I believe, which helped him out a lot just because it's the way it is in Japan. Yeah. So, yeah, I think with him, it was an easy pick for me. And at the end of the day, just because if he does both things on both pitching and hitting like he did last year, I think he's going to run away with it. But yeah, no, Vladdy's a beast. And then he lost more weight this offseason. I saw.
Yeah.
So it's like,
pounds,
yeah. And then I saw him steal a base the other day, and I'm like, man, this dude is nasty.
He's getting some wheels. Like, Vladdy's getting faster now. Okay.
Yeah. So it's gonna be crazy, man. Like I see that dude winning like 4 MVPs before his career is over because he's so good. Yeah. So moving on now to the Cy Young race. For the NL Cy Young, I went with Walker Buehler. I think that he's there competing almost every year for that award, and I think this year it's going to happen. I know last year was a little bit of the Gosmans and that type of stuff overshadowing him, but I think and obviously the Corbin Burns of the world. But I think this year he's going to do it. I think, and what's crazy too is that, like I said with the MVP, the same thing could happen with the Cy Young with the Dodgers, and like they might steal votes from each other because Urias might take another step up. I mean, that guy was nasty last year too. A lot of they're so good you almost forget about that. So I think Buehler's going to take it this year, but it really is a toss up when it comes to like when you look at the Dodgers rotation. And obviously the thing, and like I said before, obviously I hope I'm wrong, but with the healthy DeGrom, he's going to win it, obviously. Yeah. So in that case, I hope I'm wrong if DeGrom, but I just see it as also the way this year is starting. It's not looking so good. So I'm going to go Buehler to be safe.
Yeah. So very, very similar on my end. So for me, I'm actually going with Jose Urias just because I think that his sound, his mechanics as a pitcher, he's going to keep elevating every single year. And I'm picking him because of DeGrom's issues right now. Otherwise, a healthy DeGrom, I have him winning it every single time. So really, it's kind of a toss-up. But, with DeGrom kind of out the picture right now, for now, he's going to be back. I got to go with Urias. I really do.
No, yeah. I mean, that guy's a beast. I mean, yeah. I know nowadays, look, and, over the course of the season, we'll talk about analytics and we'll talk about, the stats that we like and all that. Yeah. And, what's funny is that I know, obviously, we don't talk about wins anymore because obviously we get it. Like, a lot of things go into that. So obviously you don't look at that much, but 20 wins looks good. I mean, when you look at it on a screen, and, and that's crazy because I also forgot that he won 20 games last year. Urias did. So when it comes down to the stats that everyone cares about, for sure. I mean, the guy's a beast. So I definitely don't blame you on that. When it comes to the American League Cy Young, who do you got this year?
American League Cy Young, I got Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole. I got Garrett Cole taking
Garrett Cole is his nickname now.
Yeah. I got a little cold. right now. So my words are not. I got Garrett Cole going. I think he's and even still, his performance at Yankee Stadium last year, I didn't think it was the best that he could have possibly been performance-wise. I think now with like another year under his belt as a Yankee, I think it's going to be incredible. I think Garrett Cole's going to have another dominant year. For you to struggle in the beginning at Yankee Stadium, he did get lit up a bit in April, May last year in his home starts, and to kind of really tap into how to pitch at a ballpark with those dimensions and keep his ERA low still, it's incredible. That's a hitter's ballpark. So to see, I got Garrett Cole taking this, taking the Cy Young easily. I'm loving his breaking pitches. He actually was not throwing his curveball a lot last year. I really love his sinker. I love his slider. Obviously, his fastball speaks for itself. So, Garrett Cole.
No, yeah. Garrett Cole is the elite of the elite. There's a reason why that man's making over 300 mil.
Yeah.
So that's the way I saw it too. It's like with Garrett Cole, that's who I picked. I just thought he's going to take an extra step, this year, being there a couple of years now in New York. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, I feel like as good as he has been, he can be better.
Yeah.
Like his first year, obviously in the COVID year, 2020, he had a 389, but in 2021, he had a 289 or 292, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, he could definitely do better. I mean, his ERA plus numbers are nasty. He had a 133 last year. So it's like, I think he's going to even be able to take a step up. And and again, that's going to be pivotal to the AL East. If he takes a step up and he's even better, and he's an automatic win for the Yankees, then that gives him better odds again of beating those Rays teams, beating the Red Sox, beating the Jays. And of course, those are the starts he always wants to win. Those are the most important ones.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see. And the thing was too, it's funny because we haven't seen him in a long time, but having Severino, when Severino was on, he was a Cy Young candidate too. When he's healthy, he's nasty. So if him and Severino if Severino can be healthy and pitch a full season and be Severino, that changes the AL East, so much. So when it comes to, now we'll go to the Rookie of the Year award, and we'll start off with the American League Rookie of the Year. Who do you got?
I got Julio Rodriguez for the Seattle Mariners, who's making his debut for opening day, which I think is awesome. He's one of those players I've been watching come up. I've been keeping tabs on him. Really talented outfielder, great charisma, hits for a lot of power, but he also adds average to those offensive stats. I really like Julio Rodriguez. Really someone who I don't think has really been talked about a lot up until, this point. I think he's a part of that young core of the Mariners who actually still have some prospects in their system that can come up and make a difference. The Mariners, very interesting team. They kind of struggle in the beginning of each year. Then the second half, they start to make some noise, putting pressure on other AL West teams. And I think he's going to kind of add to that a little bit. The Mariners, watch out for them in like a year or two, because they're going to really start to get in some people's ears more. So he's a part of that process. Julio Rodriguez, that is who I have.
Yeah, and like I said before, over the course of the season, we'll get to talk about more about the Mariners and what they're going to be able to do. And yeah, it's a very interesting team. And you know what? It was really easy to. It was almost easy to pick Rodriguez for me just because of the last name. Obviously, I was like, all the success. I'm like, I'm thinking, man, I got to get that jersey because he's gonna put get another Rodriguez. It's been a minute since A-Rod and stuff like that. We got Eduardo out there, but yeah, superstar to take over the game. I'm like, I'll take it. But yeah, for me, it's gonna be Bobby Witt Jr. I think that he's gonna come up and just be an absolute beast. And AL Rookie of the Year is the one that's more stacked. Like it was harder for me to pick the AL Roy, less so than the NL. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Bobby Witt. I think his tools are elite. I think he's an amazing hitter. And honestly, I've seen multiple interviews with this guy, and he just looks like he wants to be the leader. As soon as he gets in there, like you got a lot of veteran guys. And it's fun. And it's funny because I see that leadership role in him already, and he obviously, as soon as he starts talking about the Royals, he starts to give props to Greinke, Perez. So he knows the leadership, the guys that are leaders now, but he's definitely going to take the mantle easily, man. He is a beast and just a great guy overall. So, and defensively too, they don't talk about him enough. He's so talented and so athletic. So yeah, I'm going to go Bobby Witt Jr. And it was between, really, for me, as much as I want Julio to succeed, and for me, it was Bobby Witt or Spencer Torkelson. I think what's developing in Detroit is going to be really interesting because seeing him this spring, oh man, the guy can rake. And I had questions about him going in when it came to his hitting, the positioning, and I think he's going to play. I think he might be playing some first base, if correct me if I'm wrong, but and so I think that there's a lot of questions with his defense, but yeah, his hitting is insane, and he's a big guy. He's a really big guy. So yeah, I think you could have gone either or there. For the NL Rookie of the Year, I went Sixto Sanchez from the Miami Marlins. I think that guy is one of those guys that, again, a lot of people forgot about probably because of the injuries.
Yeah.
And he's 22 years old, so he's still a kid.
Young,
His only year in the league was the COVID year, and being here from Chicago, man, we saw what he could do in the
dominated
playoffs.
the Cubs at Wrigley.
Yeah. So it was. I think that he's going to be the one that stands out. Obviously, it would have been nice, to be like you say, Suzuki's going to win Rookie of the Year, but I think overall, if I'm being realistic, I think he's going to struggle a little bit. I think it's probably going to hurt his Rookie of the Year numbers, but I think overall, I think he'll have a nice season. But when you compare it to a guy like Sanchez, I think he's going to take the Rookie of the Year, no doubt.
Yeah. For me, it's Hunter Green. Hunter Green has had a very interesting minor league journey, but his tools as a pitcher and as a physical athlete are incredible. Standing at 6'5", 230. He can also hit a little bit. People forget that Hunter Green, he can hit. I think that's the one thing I'm kind of sad about when it comes to universal DH now, because I would have loved to see him hit. He's not an automatic out of the plate. Maybe he kind of dabbles in the two-way. We saw it with Michael Lorenzen. The Reds aren't new to that. But I really like Hunter. I like his fastball. He has a good command of his breaking pitches. Has kind of struggled this spring training, but you don't really want to look into spring training too much. But the reality is it does give you some indication as to what to expect maybe that first 2-3 weeks of the season. So I like Hunter Green. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be very dominating for the Reds going forward. It's very similar to what you talked about. I think he's going to have his struggles. He's going to have a tough time kind of adjusting to major league stadiums and a little bit more of a major league pace. Hitters aren't, just because you're throwing a 101, that's not an automatic out anymore. That's just, players are jumping all over that now. So, but I think he's going to adjust. He's going to become more of a pitcher instead of just a hurler. There's a difference with that. So Hunter Green, I like the head on the shoulders a lot. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, and we talked about him before too. Is with Hunter Green, I feel like he's been in the league forever, in the in the pros forever. Yeah. But the injuries kind of stalled him, obviously, and he's insane. He's an insane talent, and I don't see why not the Reds would try have him hit. I know the injuries. You want to be a little careful with them. Maybe that's why they don't dabble as much into the hitting part.
Yeah.
But I think maybe give them a couple opportunities just because the Reds aren't competing whatsoever this year.
Right. Exactly.
They're similar to the A's where it's like they sold all their players. They got rid of their players. It's the way it is. So, definitely want to see what he does. I mean, he's got all the talent in the world to be an ace. So as much as, being a Cubs fan, you don't want, to see another good pitcher in the NL Central. We're wishing him the best regardless.
Absolutely.
Also, I do want to say for World Series pick, I would say for me, I'm going to go with it's tough, but for me, I think I'm going to go with the Dodgers. It seems like an easy pick, I know, but I don't see any other way. And I feel like for me, every year it's like this when I'm picking the World Series winner. I think I'm always doubting myself because I'm like, man, it can't be the easy answer, right? But then the outlandish answer is a little too outlandish. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So there's no in between. But I think I'm gonna be safe and pick the Dodgers. I think they're just that good. I think they have every piece they have to win, and of course they're gonna go out and get another elite reliever in July and stuff like that. So it's just the way they do things.
Like they need any more, but they're like, yeah,
exactly.
More,
yeah. And I think as much as we saw Kimbrel struggle last year, I think he's going to find it in LA. I just think that he's going to work out over there with Mark Pryor, and he's going to, find his groove. And he's going to find it. I think he's going to be solid for them, and he's going to be a solid closer. And I think he's going to do better than what Jansen has done over the years. As much as Jansen was really good last year, he gave a lot of Dodgers fans some nightmares because he would, put a lot of guys on base and stuff like that.
Very similar to Chapman.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think Kimbrel's going to find it over there, and I think they're going to win the World Series.
Yeah. I got the Dodgers as well. For who they play against. It's such a toss in the air. I don't know. I think if the White Sox are healthy, all year and they kind of learn from their experience, I can see Dodgers White Sox in the World Series, but I got the Dodgers winning it. I just do. Even regardless of Cody Bellinger's very, very bad struggles. Dating back to last year and had a tough time during the COVID year as well. He that's something that I do think they got to find an answer for that. They really do. It's been pretty bad. It's been pretty bad. It's one thing to put the ball in play a lot, and you're just hitting it at guys. That happens. That's baseball. But the strikeout numbers to kind of reach the 70% mark in a very collective amount of at bats during spring training, and then you see what happens last year with the 165 batting average. It is just something you have to address. Now, he came on the interview the other day and said he's very happy. He feels very good about himself. He's getting all the strikeouts out now. Okay, yeah. I mean, sure, you can as much as you want to now, but we're starting to see a little bit of a pattern here that they have to kind of address. This isn't going to hurt them. They're going to be good either way. I can see this team winning 103 games this year easily. But in terms of just like kind of distributing playing time to some guys or giving some other players opportunities, you can't have Cody Bellinger out there hitting 120 going into July. It's just, that is going to hurt you. That may lose you about maybe 13 games going forward because he's not driving in runs. He's not getting on base. He's up there. He swings 3 times. He's out. We can't, as a team, for me, if I'm a manager or a coach, you got to start looking at other options. And I know it's hard for them just because of his history and his ability to be such a dominant hitter is still there. You can see it in him. He just somehow they just have to tap into that. But to a certain extent, after a while, you have to start looking at other options. You have to start giving other guys opportunities. And this is just me just talking from a player standpoint. This team's going to be fine either way, but we'll see.
Yeah, and no, 100%. I agree with that because, and the thing is, with them, they have a lot of leeway. They've won the World Series recently, so they have a lot of. I think they'll give them a little more. Gives him a little more space to see what he can do and see if he can get it done. But again, if they see Bellinger struggling, they're just gonna go get a left-handed outfielder, for the trade, in the trade market. So they have plenty of options there. But you're right in the sense that it could cost them a lot of games. But I think for them, they're probably just thinking October. So if the guy's not hitting, and he just, they'll go out and get a guy that can hit in October. But no, it's definitely with the Dodgers. It's their World Series to lose. I don't see it any other way. Unless a lot of injuries happen. Them bringing back Kershaw, he's in their back end of the rotation now, which is crazy. So now, I mean, it's like if that's the way you're gonna do things. I mean, it just shows how good your team is. So so that just about wraps up our predictions this year and just about the show this time around. So and Miles, like I said, thanks for doing this again, man. This is awesome. I mean, this will be the first of many episodes throughout the season. We're gonna try to roll out episodes every week, and didn't mention this before, but it is going to be cool to see from your perspective from the player side, and then me from a more analyzation side, announcer side type of thing. It's almost like we're a booth. You know what I'm saying, man? We can call games we wanted to. So, for sure. So definitely appreciate it, man. And that's just one of many. And thank you everyone for watching the At Bat Baseball podcast. And of course, you can listen to our audio anywhere you can get a podcast and watch our video on YouTube. For the video watchers on YouTube, we'll have our our Twitter @ and Instagram handles at the bottom. Thank you for listening, everyone, and happy baseball season.